focus on the question youth rights and the Human Rights Council. And what do we mean by youth rights? I think one of the applications that was raised, I think it was mentioned, the question, for example, of practices related to internship and others. And I recognize the representative of the initiative on Fair Internship. I think they asked for the floor. So I give you the floor, representative of the, please raise your hand so the technician could see you.
Yes. So we are from the Fair Internship Initiative, a youth-led international group which advocates for fair and accessible and quality internships in the international organizations. I would like to thank the organizers and the panelists, and especially Alexander, for making an explicit mention of our initiative and our work. And I would like to elaborate a bit more of how we see the role of internships in terms of participation, and especially in international organizations. If you look at what our generation, young people, is faced most of the time, you realize that we are often a generation of student loans. We are often a generation of youth unemployment, and unfortunately also of unpaid internships. Many of us do not really want to work for free, but too many times in order to start a career, we are obliged to take unpaid positions. We are often told that it's a privilege to work for institutions that not remunerate in any way our contribution. The problem is that unpaid internships foster inequality by offering unequal opportunities. For young people from underprivileged backgrounds or from developing countries, living in some of the most expensive cities in the world without any source of income, it's really not an option. The UN Youth Report itself from 2016 mentions that unpaid internships have the potential to leave youth in an economically more vulnerable position. And as Alexander mentioned, unfortunately, this is increasingly the norm, and even within these very walls. Within the UN, about 10% of the workforce is unpaid interns, yet more than 2/3 of them come from the developed West. The Joint Inspection Unit in 2009 made a report according to which many qualified candidates are unable to apply solely on the basis of financial limitations. This is not really what equal representation looks like. Participation is not just an abstract word, it's something that requires tangible action.
The UN is an institution that champions the fundamental values of non-discrimination and equality, of democratic participation and equal representation, of fair working conditions and education for all. If the UN is committed to improving young people's opportunities globally, regardless of the family they are born into or the country they come from, it must be consistent with its own values and set the example. It has the duty to be part of the solution and not of the problem. It has to show that it is committed to young people, at least as much as it asks young people to be committed to its goals. We would like to ask the panelists whether you believe that the UN internship program is consistent with goals of SDG 8 and 10 and with Article 8 of the UN Charter. We believe it is not. We believe it is time for the member states and the Secretariat alike to come together and finally listen to the voices of young people. It is time to commit for a real change and improve the accessibility of the UN internship program. It is time to start paying your interns. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for the representative of the Fair Internship Initiative.